and welcome back to another episode of the Tall Talk podcast with myself, James, and my brother Dan. So, what we're going to be discussing today is more about the after effects of the coronavirus. Not necessarily like the long term effects if you've had it, but more when the pandemic is declared over or more towards the end and the lockdown restrictions are more eased. Are people going to feel comfortable hugging people again and handshakes? And are they going to feel comfortable in restaurants and in bars and in clubs, sort of thing? Or is it going to take a lot longer to get back to normal life? Or are people going to want to just try and get back to normal life as quickly as possible, sort of thing?
Yeah, we'd just like to make it clear that we're talking about after COVID, so we're not talking about whether COVID's real, fake, whether the vaccine's real, fake. We're literally just focusing on the once everything gets back to normality, when all the restrictions are gone, when you can live a so-called normal life again, the possible changes, the possible things that could possibly not be the same again.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just having a look towards the future and probably a happier future at the moment.
No, of course, yeah. I think the one thing that the best way to start this off is from our own personal opinion, sort of thing. So, Dan, my question to you is: when the lockdowns and restrictions are lifted, are you going to feel comfortable shaking people's hands like at work or hugging family members or friends, sort of thing? Is that something that you're going to feel comfortable doing, or are you just going to give it a bit of time to calm down a bit more?
Me personally, I will live my life like I did before COVID. I don't think that. I don't know. It's kind of weird. I suppose when you're in this situation, I think my problem would be more: are they comfortable? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
when you see someone, you like shake their hand and stuff, but do they feel comfortable with that? It wouldn't be so much me. It wouldn't really bother me personally. I'd go back to how we were and do my best to be sort of normal. But yeah, I don't think that. I think it would be the aspect of the other person. Are they okay? Is this going to be awkward? Are they going to turn around and say, no, 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 I don't want to do that, or something like that? So
Yeah.
that's probably my take on it. What about you?
Well, I don't know. It's one of those things, as you say, it's always going to be. I think for myself personally, obviously the way that I was brought up and we were brought up, sort of thing, and the way that I've worked and stuff like that, it's just a natural reaction when you meet somebody at work, sort of thing,
Mm,
whether it's a client or somebody you haven't seen for a while. A natural reaction is just to stick your hand out and handshake, or
yeah,
if it's a colleague that you're quite close with, it's just natural reaction to give them a hug, sort of thing.
yeah,
I think it would be difficult even after all this time, with me myself being furloughed on off. Even myself personally, it would be difficult to not do that if the option was there.
yeah,
Um, Obviously, I saw today that they reckon that I think it's one. I think they reckon about 25% of all adults in the country or something that have now been given the COVID vaccine.
mm,
So that's going really quickly from where it started. So, um, but I don't know. I guess it's one of those things. Like, I guess I would. If I'm going to be honest with myself, I probably would. I guess
yeah.
especially my family, maybe not so much with complete strangers, sort of thing. Like,
How many complete
um,
strangers do you see out in public and go up and hug?
well, I suppose when this pandemic's over, everybody's gonna be hugging everyone, aren't they?
Yeah, I mean,
See,
yeah,
see
like I
old
say,
Doris in Tesco's walk past to give her a hug.
I think a lot of people would want to give him a slap by the sounds of it and the look of what's been going around.
Yeah,
Um, but yeah, like I say, I mean, I suppose it's one of those things you don't know until it comes around. Um, my question to you would be, um, we're just doing this off the sort of top of our head at the minute, so it's not a case that we've got all these questions laid out. But small businesses and stuff like that, do you think that they will? Do you think they'll start rising again? I mean, in terms of obviously throughout the whole COVID period, a lot of smaller companies have been going out of business,
yeah,
and I mean, if anything, the bigger companies have profited from it, and you know, Amazon, places like that, they've all profited from it because no one's been able to leave their home. So if they needed anything, order it, get it delivered to home. So can you? I don't know how easy it would be for smaller companies to get back on their feet.
yeah. I think there's two sides to that. Obviously, massive companies like Amazon, Microsoft, all those sort of companies have thrived because people have been at home. So Amazon have been selling a lot of everything on there. Microsoft have been selling computers and stuff like that for people to do. But on the other hand, some high street big names, obviously like Debenhams and Topshop and that, they've all struggled and they've all gone out of business. And now they've been bought by ASOS and Boohoo and that like that. So they're going to be online only. So I think the question is the high street going to come back? But in terms of the independent traders, I think that there is such a resolve that they will be able to either come back or something will pop up in their place as an alternative.
Mm.
I think everyone needs the smaller independent businesses. I think it would be difficult. Obviously, I know I'm not saying for 1 second that not companies haven't struggled because the company I work for sort of thing has really struggled with the long-term effects of because I work in hospitality, so obviously that's been one of the worst hit areas.
Mm.
We've not been able to host it. We wasn't able to host any weddings in the summer. We wasn't able to have any Christmas parties in the winter. So we
Yeah.
missed out on our two key seasons sort of thing. So we're literally struggling on for the promise of this year, hoping that
And
things will get better.
a lot of places still have to pay rent. That's what a lot of people forget as well. Is that yeah, that's fair enough. They've turned around and they've said, right, we're closing you down. Well, that's fine, but we've still got this. Depending on what you're doing, if it's gyms stuff like that, they're still renting their. Well, some gyms are renting their equipment. They're
Yeah,
renting their premises, and you know, the financial impact on it all must be insane to business owners, big and small. Like you say, the ones like Amazon and stuff, I think they're probably been very beneficial off of it. But I mean, yeah, even your reasonably large companies are probably footing the bill because obviously you got to pay staff members as well. You know,
yeah,
it's people are like, oh, I've got a family and stuff, but so is each staff member. You know, so it's as a business owner, I don't envy any business owner, big or small, in terms of having to either furlough people, release people, and yeah, it's more the financial. I think people have been more beneficial. Like things have been more beneficial financially for some people because they've been able to work from home. They've been able to, so you're not spending money on fuel driving to work. You're not spending money on lunches really. In terms of, I know when I'm at work and if I'm out and about, like I'll go buy lunch. So
yeah.
six quid or something like that. So it's like that builds up over a month sort of thing. So that's another sort of expenditure that's not going. So I think some people probably have done all right financially during this period, but I think it's probably more the businesses that are sort of really struggled, or the people that obviously can't work and are on like not full wage if their employers not
Yeah.
giving them full wage.
I think the other effect that we've got to look at is also not necessarily the business side of things, but also the long-term effects this is going to have on people's mental health. Obviously, I know
Mm.
mental health has been spoken about in the news and stuff like that, but I
Yep.
know from personal experience and stuff like that, that the anxiety that comes with furlough, granted you've been given some sort of job security, but every day you sort of wake up thinking to yourself,
Just a
is
day,
my
yeah.
company going to, is my company going to make me redundant? Is my company not going to exist anymore?
Yep.
I had a friend apply for a job sort of thing, and they had an interview, um, and then she was waiting to find out about the job, and they emailed us saying, "Oh, we'd love to give you the job, but we've just been told that the branch is shutting down in the next 90 days." So
Yeah. That's the thing. It's you don't know what's around the corner. I mean, like on our side, we've experienced redundancies and stuff, and that's affected us, like our plan, like financially, stuff like that, going forward and stuff. So it everything was fine, and then all of a sudden it's just like one spanner thrown in, and then you're like, right, okay, and then you get through that, and then it's like another one, and then you're like, it's like blow after blow after blow for some people, and
yeah,
some people get through it, some people don't, and there's only so much any one person can take. But yeah, like you say, I I know I've felt the same in terms of not knowing, You're like, yeah, we're
Yeah,
okay at the minute, but it only takes one little thing to all of a sudden turn, and then you're back to square one again, or
and that's
some
it.
some
Obviously,
people worse.
ob- obviously, it's difficult, isn't it? Because obviously redundancies and stuff like that. It's sort at the moment. I think for most people, unless you work for Amazon or a delivery company or some sort of government sector, or I think you're always in the back of your mind slightly worried. There's no way that people are telling me that they're 100% sure that their job's going to be safe.
Hmm. Well, I
Granted, this
don't think
year,
anyone knows. That's the thing, and like you say, that's the whole anxiety bit around it, is that no one can be 100% sure. And I suppose you could argue before COVID, you're never sure that your job, everyone's replaceable. If you left your job, they'll just replace you with someone else.
yeah,
But yeah, like you say, it's more of a case that it can happen out of the blue, and yeah, it's not.
I think
It's
it's going to,
that combined with like looking at the same four walls as well when you're in the house. I know
yeah,
you can get out and stuff. I get that, but like we have families, and like I was speaking to my partner the other day, like it's it, like normally, like for work, I'd be away quite a bit, but then also it would be you don't get time to yourself, sort of thing, because obviously with Litland and stuff here as well, because they're not at school now. It's like you don't get that time to yourself, so you either go out for a run, or you just sort of just need that time. But especially for someone like me, I'm one of them people that I need time to myself.
yeah.
Even if I'm not doing anything special, if I'm not doing anything at all, I just need to sit, chill, be in my own head. That's just how I am. But yeah, I find that difficult. Like especially throughout at the minute, it's you can get out. Like I say, I can go for a run and stuff, but still, it's just that not having to worry. And like you say, that goes back to the exact anxiety bit of not knowing what's going to happen.
Yeah. I think it's going to take a long time for some people's mental state to get back to where it was before. Um, because I'm going to just keep referring to myself because obviously it's just the way it is. But obviously, I had some all sort of anxiety issues a long time ago, sort of thing, and they were all calmed down, and it was never really thought of. But this whole, I think that's where it's affected me the most. This pandemic is the first lockdown. I didn't really know anybody that had it, sort of thing, so it didn't really feel that close to home.
Mm.
But the main thing I had was my anxiety of constantly worrying and stressing every single day as to whether I'm going to have a job and whether I'm going to be able to provide for my family.
Mm.
That's the main thing. I think actually, even after all this is over, it's going to take a long time for people to feel like their jobs are fully secure because the long term effects, if you
Yeah,
combine the business side of things, the long term effects financially are going to be felt for like at least a couple of years, if not
yeah,
longer.
yeah, definitely. I think I don't know the full ins and outs of it, so I don't want to claim this as gospel. But I don't. The companies that that receive furlough have to pay it back. It's as a loan, isn't it? I don't think they have to pay it back in full, obviously, but over time. So that'll be an additional cost coming out from the company. That's
I
my
know that
understanding of it. I could be wrong, but
I know that the companies that kept in people employed until this year sort of thing, they got £1,000 grant per employee.
oh yeah.
So that would have helped out there as well. But
But
that's
that's
nothing
all
if
right
you
if
look
you
at
can
a
do it.
scale of a company. Yeah,
If you haven't got that financial sort of backing to begin with, then yeah, you try keeping someone on that's on, even if they're on like I don't know 21, 22 grand a year. You've got three of them. That's 6 grand a year, say. And if you're not getting any income, that's a lot of money to have saved, like in the bank for a small company.
yeah.
So yeah.
I think that's it because of my workplace personally, they had to make quite a few people redundant. I was quite lucky in the fact that they moved me around as much as possible to keep me employed as much as possible, and I've worked in a lot of different departments, and I can't be grateful enough to my employers for that at all, sort of thing.
Mm.
And that's definitely helped out because I'd have been a lot more stressed, especially if I was unemployed. Hospitality industry experience sort of thing doesn't really get you it would just be difficult to find a job at the moment, sort of thing, in that area because of what's been going on. There's nothing being booked, nothing being planned. But
Yeah,
I think on the upside of that, and I know that our company personally are looking at it like that, is that when the lockdown restrictions are lifted, they are expecting a massive, massive pickup in bookings.
yeah,
They're expecting huge, huge bookings. Like all the weddings that have had to be delayed or cancelled, you got like literally coming up to a year's worth of weddings to get in
mm, yeah,
because I think it like middle of next month. I think it was the first lockdown came in, so you've got nearly a year's worth of weddings to try and get back in again. You had a few small ones here, there, and everywhere, but I think that it's for the hospitality industry personally, I think that that's what they're holding out for is for the vaccine to start kicking in, and then the restrictions start to get lifted, and then little by little they can hold more and more events, sort of thing. I think
Isle of
Christmas
Man are
they should.
back to normal now, aren't they?
Pardon?
I think Isle of Man are back to normal. They've lifted everything. It's
Yeah,
literally back to
I,
normal.
I guess that because you're a small island, sort of thing, you can just literally stop boats in and out, sort of thing. Just do trades in and out, and that's about it.
But in the grand scheme of the world, isn't England a little island?
Well, I suppose yeah, you could argue that the United Kingdom is a small island, and that you should do that as well. I know that they've obviously done the flight restrictions and stuff like that, but
Yeah,
that's
but
the
they've
other
still
thing
got
that
people
we haven't
flying
even,
left, right, and centre. That's the problem. Is it?
that's the other thing we haven't
it
even spoken about is the travel aspects. Would people feel completely comfortable and safe getting in a confined, recycled airspace like a plane for say 8 hours to go um from here to like America, sort of
I
thing?
don't.
Would
I
you would
don't.
people feel completely safe in that?
Being honest, I don't. I don't think it'll be long before they have the vaccination passports anyway. I think that's
Yeah,
just going to be what happens. I think it's going to be whether you agree with it or you don't. I think it's going to be like if you go, say, South Africa or go to Africa or whatever, you need to have your jabs before you go. And I think that's what it's going to be. There's been talks that if you don't have a vaccination passport, you have to pay an additional £100 for a COVID test. And then obviously, if you come back negative, you can go. But I, I just think that's going to be a mess. You're not going to have everyone that wants to take it, the vaccine. You're not going to have everyone that agrees with not taking it. So you just you can't
I
keep
mean,
everyone
yeah,
happy. That's the problem.
I think at this point it's key. It's key. It's important for us to stress that we're not saying one that it's right to have the injection or not right to have the injection, or
Mm.
we're by no means or stretching COVID denying or anything like that. It's just um. So yeah, my one of my questions to you would be: would you have the injection if it was offered to you, or would you just ride it out, sort of thing? If it meant that you couldn't go on holiday or you couldn't go anywhere because this so-called COVID passport meant you couldn't go on holiday. It meant you couldn't go to concerts. It meant you couldn't go to watch cricket. It meant you couldn't go to watch football unless you had this
But
COVID passport.
that's what it fundamentally comes down to, though, isn't it? Is I was speaking to one of my mates the other day about it, and we have a similar point of view on it and things behind it and whatnot. But it's what can you do? If not, you're gonna, by the sounds of it, like I say, I don't know what they're planning on doing, but by the sounds of it, you're going to be stuck in your house. I'll be carrying on if you don't have the vaccine. What?
You just stay carrying on like you are now
Yeah,
forever.
yeah. Well, this is what I mean. But if they're going to put limits on what people can do and what people can't do, if they've been vaccinated or not, what are you going to do? Are you going to live your life, or are you just going to sit here and be like, well, I haven't got vaccinated because I don't agree with it, but I can't do anything?
I think
That's
that's one of the things that I was worried about personally is the long-term effect. But I've done a lot of research. I've watched a lot of videos with doctors talking about it and stuff like that.
mm,
I've watched the doctor in America, Dr. Mike, sort of thing on Facebook, and he specifically did a video which was of key interest to me. It was about the long-term effects of like fertility and stuff like that, and about the effects of fertility, because that was one of my main concerns is what happens if it affects my fertility, sort of thing, because
mm.
down the line me and my wife might want a second child, sort of thing, and I don't want anything to hamper our possible chances,
And
and I don't want.
from the obviously the data that's in terms of, they're saying that it's the vaccine's 50% that you won't um you won't pass it on, or you won't get it, or for people that are our age and reasonably healthy, it'd be. I think it. Why would you take the risk? Like,
Yeah.
we've got, obviously, unless we've got underlying health issues that we don't know about, um, we've got a 99.9% or whatever, 99.7% chance of recovering from it. But people obviously argue, well, it's about transmitting it to other people. But if you take the vaccine, there's only half a chance that you're not going to transmit it if you have got it.
Yeah.
So, and I don't know. It, like I say, it's. I think it's a personal decision for everyone. They can obviously, everyone can do as they please. It's whatever they decide's best for them. But I think their hands are going to be pushed when it comes to doing things that they want to do, or it's going to be a large financial consequence if you don't.
Yeah. I think that's mainly what it's going to come down to. Whether the COVID passport lasts for a prolonged period of time, I'm not sure they'd be able to get away with that, because I don't think the travel industry would be able to would tolerate that in that sense. But it's very strange, because obviously on one hand you'll have the high up CEOs, the owners of the airline companies saying that they can't sustain business with COVID passports, but then you'd have the frontline staff like the passports, like the check-in desks. You'll
Yeah, the
have
borders.
the borders. You'll have the pilots. You'll have all of the cabin crew sort of thing that'll be on strike, possibly because they'll want to be protected, and the COVID passport obviously offers them a higher level of protection than, say, if there wasn't one there. So it's all going to swing in roundabouts, and I suppose obviously we're not going to know until, well, possible 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 months down the line as to what's really going to happen. But in terms of the vaccine for ourselves, I guess we've got 3 months probably to wait until it even comes round to us being asked to have it done.
I could
So we've got,
potentially have it now if I want.
oh, well, there you go. But
Um,
me personally,
yeah, obviously, what I do for work and stuff, there is opportunity for me to, but as I'm still working from home. There's no rush in my
no
eyes,
need for such, no, yeah.
No, my mum's had it. She works for NHS, so she's been offered it and she's had it. So, and at
Yeah,
the
my
minute
mum's had it as well.
she still has 4 limbs, or 5 including the head. But yeah, it's she hasn't grown another one yet. So I don't know. That's the thing, is that you don't know what to believe. That's a problem, and I'm sure. Like I say, we'll address it in another video that we were planning on doing, that we might release next, or probably could do it as our video after this one. Is about like cancel culture and the media and stuff like that. So which will tie in with what we're talking about now.
Yeah, so I think obviously I know quite a few people now. Obviously, our nan's had it, my mum's had it, your mum's had it.
Mm.
Both all my grandparents have had it now. But obviously it's tricky, because obviously we've had obviously a loss in the family because of the result of coronavirus sort of thing. So I think
Mm.
it hit home a bit harder, the third lockdown, than it has for any other lockdown. But I guess the long-term effects, obviously we've discussed about what our opinions are, but we're not going to really know, as I say, until
No
6
one
months or
knows, I
so down
don't
the
think,
line.
and I think that's the
No.
problem, is that no one really knows. Like, you can argue that, I don't know, that they haven't helped themselves with, like the government haven't really helped themselves with the way that they've dealt with it. So they're going to annoy people straight off the bat, and then when they're constantly getting mixed information, I feel that people start to not know what to believe.
No, I
Yeah.
think that COVID fatigue has really hit hard this lockdown. I think a lot of
Mm.
people have struggled, especially obviously in the summer. People thought it was great, sort of thing. It was like a long summer holiday. You got to sit in the garden in the sunshine. You got to play with the kids.
Yep.
You got to be outside, long walks and stuff like that. But obviously the winter lockdown, you can't. There's only so much time you could spend outside
Yeah,
before
yeah.
you get hypothermia.
That's it. I mean, well,
Um,
we don't live in the Atlantic or anything, but yeah.
no,
Well, you going out in just a
um,
t-shirt?
that's it. Yeah, t-shirt and shorts. So I'm determined to get a suntan one way
Yeah.
or another.
Yeah. My next question is about sport. Sport related. So obviously crowds. I mean, we both watch a lot of football. It's not. I mean, it's taken me a while now. It's become a little bit more normal because it's nearly been a year we've been in lockdown, in and out. But yeah, but when football started again and there weren't no crowds, I found it very difficult to watch. But what my question is, do you think it's going to be the same when the fans are back? And do you think they'll be allowed to hold full capacity?
I think that they're going to have to do staggered capacity, like their plan was before the second or third lockdown came in. I can't remember. I think it must be the third lockdown. I reckon they're going to have to do staggered capacity, like they're going to have to do it in a couple of thousand installments, like they wanted to. Like it's going to be like 10%, then 25%, then 50%, then 65 and 80 before it gets up to 100. So I think you're possibly looking at a year, if not more, before you can get up to 100% capacity again, unless everything goes perfectly well and the coronavirus is sort of more or less eradicated come the start of next season.
Yeah.
Because obviously there's only 3 months left of this current Premier League season. If we're looking at football specifically,
Mm.
then I think you're
I mean, they got
looking
the
at
Euros in the summer as well.
but I can't see that them having many fans in the stadiums at that point.
Yeah.
Um, but I think they should be aiming for if all goes well with the vaccines and with the R rate dropping and the number of infections going down. I reckon that by September, the start or August, sorry, the start of the new Premier League season, they should be looking at hopefully trying to get 50% capacity back in at least, sort of thing, and possibly after Christmas getting it up towards 75 or 100% if all goes well. And obviously, if when winter comes, it doesn't come back, sort of thing.
Well,
I think that's what they should be aiming for.
this is the sort of $1 million question in terms of, you know, surely at some point we've you've got to deal with it. Like, I know that sound. I don't mean that to sound blunt and horrible, but I mean in terms of, are we going to spend the rest of our lives in worry of COVID in terms of how it affects stuff like football? You say it like, I'm not solely talking about football that it needs to happen in football, but it's just the example because we're on the subject anyway. But for will football stadiums never be at full capacity again because of COVID? Stuff like that, or at some point are they going to say, look, this is COVID, this is what you need to do? I personally think that at some point they're going to have yearly vaccines like the flu shot. I think that's going to be what they're going to do with it. Whether they charge people for it and stuff, I don't know, but I think that's going to be what happens down the line. But you know, is it always going to be different again? Is things never going to be the same again in terms of, going out shopping, I don't know, Lakeside or something like that.
Yeah,
It's or just what's normal. So I think that's the thing not I struggle with, but I think about a lot is I've forgotten what normal is. Like
yeah.
when
This is
like
the new normal at the minute.
this is it, and that's the thing is that before I'd go cricket and it'd be like see all the lads and that, and we'd have a good laugh. You'd be jumping on each other or whatever, and like for wickets you'd be hugging each other and high fiving and stuff like that. And now you even think, oh, if I high five someone, I might get COVID. Do you know what I mean? It's just, I just don't know whether things are ever going to be the same again, and that's what I think I worry about, because I don't want to be, older, got grandkids and stuff, and be like, oh, when we were kids, we used to be able to do this, and they'd find it so foreign because they're not allowed to have like freedom to do whatever, if that makes sense.
I guess that's the scary thing. Like, obviously, when we were kids, we used to run around sort of thing with not care in the world. Used to fall over, scrape your knee, used to come back in, have lunch without bother washing your hands sort of thing. You were sort of immune
Mm.
to everything when you were younger. Whereas now, my son, he's 2 years old, and where it's so normal for me and my wife to use hand sanitizer, he's just constantly asking for hand sanitizer. He's 2 years old, and he's
Yeah,
asking for hand
yeah,
sanitizer.
that's it. And it's like, well, since Litland's just got started going to school and stuff. Not now, obviously she's at home again. But I mean, she when COVID first happened, she wasn't at school, so it was she started in September, and we had to explain to her when we went out why she couldn't go in the park. So it'd be like, why is the park shut? And it'd be like, well, because of the cold. We used to call it the wind because for some reason she latched onto the wind. So she'd be like, oh, we can't do that because of the wind. And then
Yeah.
that kept going. But then she went to school, and then she come home one day and she was like, we can't go see Nanny today because of the virus. And I'm like, oh my God, you're growing up too quickly. And
Yeah.
but it's stuff like that. Like, but for her, that's normal now. It's like when we walk past the park now, she doesn't ask to go play in it. And that's where I'm like where the realization hits you a bit is that how my 5-year-old don't want to go. Not that she doesn't want to go play in the park, but it's normal for me to turn around and say you're not allowed to. It's shut,
Yeah.
or we're not allowed to because of the virus and stuff. So that and it's like she asks, oh, can we go do something? And it's like we can't leave the house. We're not meant to leave the house, and
No.
it is. That's what I worry about, is also the kids missing out on their childhood, because for me my childhood was so good, like in terms of what we were able to do and what we've
Yeah.
done. So yeah, that's a massive thing. And also they're not so much for my little and more yours, in terms of the social aspect of kids, because kids should be around kids. I get, obviously, with my little, and it's kind of like she's been at school, she goes on to Zoom calls and that, she knows who everyone is. But
Yeah.
at 2, it's a very tender age for where they should, in my opinion, where they should be mixing with other kids and and doing stuff. And is it going to create a not socially inept, but you know what I mean, like
Yeah. I mean,
make them socially awkward or something?
it's difficult because I mean, at the moment, Frankie doesn't have that. He's very, very confident. Even walking past people in the street now, he shouts hello at them and waves, sort of thing. He's never been shy. He's always been confident in saying hello to people. Even now, he still runs up to other children when they're playing with like their parents stuff, like, and wants to join in and play, sort of thing. We feel bad, like say no, you can't. You've got to come away, sort of thing. And he gets all upset, sort of thing.
Yeah.
But we're obviously where I've been at home and my wife's been at home, sort of thing. We've been able to spend a lot more time with him, so he's had a lot of reading and stuff like that. So he's picked up a lot of stuff, and for the age of 2, he's learnt quite a lot already. But obviously, we are personally getting worried about the social aspect, like as you say,
Yeah.
kids should mix with kids, sort of thing.
Yep.
We was looking at starting him in nursery, sort of thing. We just keep having to push it back and back and back. We don't need to send him to nursery, but we want
Yeah.
to for his own benefit, sort of thing.
Yeah,
like a couple of
that was
walks, something like that.
the best thing we done was put little in nursery from an early age, because we both work full time, stuff like that. And before we'd done it, we were like, it's just a lot of money, and also I'm a bit worried that we're just palming her off. You get that
Yeah.
sense where you just like, look after my child. And but seeing her now, it's kind of like I'm glad she did, because at the minute she's an only child, and I wouldn't want her to grow up to be an only child, if that makes sense. Where they're not, and obviously not all only childs are like that, but it's it was personally, I think for her development, it was brilliant for her.
Yeah. So.
But yeah, to round it up, really, what does the future hold?
Hopefully something happier.
Yeah. It would be nice if one day they just turn around and said, right, we feel that you're going to have to go back to normal life. But I don't think things will ever be the same. In terms of even how, probably, obviously not to, I think the older generation with, as they get older and they get more frail, I think they're going to be a lot more cautious and careful around kids, not kids, or like younger people,
Yeah,
because I think they're going to have the impression that younger people just go out, don't care, get whatever, and they're going to pass it on to them. I think
I mean, it
that's
doesn't help that that's actually what happens. So
yeah, no, that's it. Yeah, I totally agree. But like I say, I mean, this is later.
yeah,
How
yeah,
it's going
yeah.
to affect everyone in the long run, not so much now. But yeah, it'd be interesting to see what other people's points of view are. So please comment below. Like I say, this is what you should believe. This is what we think in terms of if it's valid, if it's not, if the vaccine's right, wrong. It's just our own opinions, and
Yeah.
like I say, it was more based on afterwards. Even though we did delve here, there, and everywhere, but it's a bit difficult not to when you're talking about stuff like that.
I think that's the main thing is obviously let us know what you think. If you agree with us, if you disagree with us, if you've got your own opinions, as Dan said, just comment below. Remember to like, share, and subscribe. We want to get as many people involved in the conversation as possible. Um, but yeah, until next time, thanks for listening. I'm James, and this is my brother Dan, and we're Tall Talk. We look forward to welcoming you back next time.